I am Tenitra Batiste, and guess what? No bounce back for the Bills tonight because Josh Allen, but the Falcons didn't Falcon.
I'm Aaron Freeman, and what was this? 8 years in the making since the last time the Falcons hosted a Monday night game? Well, it was 8 years worth the wait.
I'm Jarvis Davis, and it is time to believe.
ATL!
Rise up, A-Town. It's the Falcons Squad. Everything Atlanta Falcons every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the ATL. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Straight from the ATL, the Falcons Squad Show starts now.
Welcome into the Falcons Squad Show, your home for the best Atlanta Falcons football talk. I'm your host, Tenitra Batiste. Alongside me are Locked On Falcons host Aaron Freeman and Locked On analyst Jarvis Davis. The Squad Show is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward, Mazda, move and be moved. So although it was a tale of two halves for this defense, they definitely shined at times, just like the offense. We'll download on some of the good things we saw from the Falcons offense in the team's 24-14 win over the Buffalo Bills tonight. And it feels good to be able to give out game balls for a third time this season. We'll tell you who our honorees are, but first, let's talk about a defense that especially, again, in the first half showed itself strong tonight. So guys, the Bills struck on their opening drive, but they stalled the rest of the first half and really the rest of the game, if we're being honest, thanks to a defense that finished with 4 sacks. By the way, they're now 14 sacks, the most through 5 games in 2 decades for this Atlanta Falcons defense. So let's start with the guy who is orchestrating this from behind the scenes, Jarvis. You got to talk about Jeff Ulbrich and what you saw in the way that he called the game that actually made it so tough for Buffalo's offense to get going.
First of all, I have to say this. Jeff Ulbrich was in his bag. He was cooking. He had an aura about himself. He had a good vibe out there, you know what I'm saying? Like calling those plays tonight. I'm trying to sound young, y'all, if y'all don't get my drift as of right now. But yeah, when we talked about coming into this game, how Jeff Ulbrich was going to have to mix some things up a little bit. We're going to have to take away just one thing. All you have to do is take away one thing. You can't take away everything. You can't stop Josh Allen. Well, guess what? They stopped Josh Allen. But one of the things that they made sure that he didn't kill them on consistently was those runs, because there were times as soon as Josh Allen saw man coverage, he was looking to run. Yep. And the Falcons remained rush disciplined. Yes. He got outside of the pocket from time to time, but I think that overall Jeff Ulbrich was missing up the man versus zone, and he started going a little bit more man as the game went along because he saw how AJ Terrell playing. Mike Hughes, you worried me for a little bit, but I think overall the secondary had a solid game, and I think that Jeff Ulbrich was the conductor of this ship. And I think that, when I think back to one of the previous conversations on the Falcons Squad show about this was the night that Jeff Ulbrich can say, hey, man, I know what the hell I'm doing when it comes to the defense side of the football. And you know what? You might need to give me consideration as to being one of those next defensive coordinating guys that can be a head coach in this league going forward.
Well, Jarvis, I think there are a couple of points that you made that really I saw as well. And of course, you were at the stadium and our eyes and ears for this Falcons Squad show. But I got to tell you, you could feel, I'm going to use your word, you could feel the aura. You could feel the swag. You could feel the energy and the determination in these players to say, Jeff Ulbrich, he's putting each and every one of us in a position to succeed. And so all we have to do is execute. That's something that confidence that I think is so important, because I think when you have that kind of confidence that I saw in each and every player, I saw in the defensive front saying, nope, we're going to win in the trenches. And I saw in the secondary saying, hey, not tonight, you're not getting to the second level. That's why you only had 63 yards rushing in the first half. It just really felt like every aspect of the defense was determined to prove that it wasn't just going to be an offensive onslaught that was going to win this game, but they were going to win the game too.
T, you make a great point, because here's the thing. Remember that particular drive where they kept getting the holding penalties? They kept giving the Bills first downs. Caden Ellis, after every penalty, he was like, man, we good. Come on. We good. We're good. Come on. We got this, man. Crowd, I need y'all to come on. Yes. And then we're gonna get this. We're gonna get this stop. And that's the type of stuff that we're not used to seeing from this Falcons defense, because when stuff hits the fan, they have no answer. When they get punched in the mouth like this in the second half of games, they have no answer. But the defense answered the bell every single time. And I think that it starts with Jeff Ulbrich, and you got your leader of this defense and Caden Ellis out there saying, relaying the message, saying, yeah, man, we're good. Don't worry about that, man. Penalty, we'll get it back, and we're going to get off this field. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and Aaron, that's so important, because when you talk about getting punched in the mouth, you look at that second half and it was like literally kind of, your eyes kind of bulge wide open, because the Bills come out and they basically take about 5.5 minutes off the clock. They go 9 plays, 71 yards. They're mixing it up with the run and the pass, and you're thinking, oh dear, especially after what we saw at the end of the first half with a touchdown that wasn't. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But you got to give this defense so much credit, because, again, starting with Jeff Ulbrich, he really, really did scheme it well in the first half. And also, I felt like he made some adjustments at halftime that would be prepared for what the Bills were going to bring in that second half.
Yeah, Jarvis nailed it. I think the main thing that they did defensively was they made Josh Allen uncomfortable.
Yes.
Right? He finished this game, I think, with like 6 runs for 42 yards, but like 24 of those came on that last possession on that big scramble. And so, if my math is correct, that basically means prior to the final minute of this game, they had held Josh Allen to 18 yards on 5 carries in this game. And if you had told me ahead of time that the Falcons defense was going to do that after giving up 40 some odd yards to Baker Mayfield and however many yards they gave up for Marcus Mariota and Bryce Young scrambling for however many touchdowns he had or whatever, I would have been like, no, that ain't going to happen, right? This is Josh Allen. And the Falcons were able to keep him in check. They made him uncomfortable. They got pressure on him in some key critical late down situations. They were able to get stops. T, you nailed it. Like the defense played lights out in the first half. They did everything they needed to do. Stop the run, pressure the quarterback, get stops, all those things that held the Bills to 7 points. Yeah. And then you get out into the second half, Bills go down the field, score, and it's like, oh, okay, here we go. They cut the lead to 7. Then the Falcons get do nothing on offense, and then the Bills are running the football, right? They were kind of getting their run game going at that stage in the game. Yeah. But then we get late in that series at the end of the third quarter where it's a critical 4th down. Jeff Ulbrich brings that pressure off the backside from A.J. Terrell. He pushes Josh Allen outside the pocket, and Josh Allen, feeling that heat, makes a critical error trying to flip the pass to his receiver, and the ball falls short, and the Falcons get a defensive stop. And so it was all those critical moments where you saw the scheme coming together in those critical situations when the defense needed to get a stop. And then basically from that point on, the Falcons defense pretty much shut down the Bills. That was really their last hurrah until the very end of the game, where they all made us a little nervous. You know how it goes with the Falcons. But it was one of those things where I do think you're right. Like Jeff Ulbrich was able to dial up things in key situations for this defense to be able to get stops on the field that were critical for this team. And it really started at, we're going to affect Josh Allen as much as possible, contain his scrambling, get pressure on him, make him feel uncomfortable, speed up his clock, all those things. And I think it was mission accomplished.
Yeah. And I think, Jarvis, that's why we saw the Bills in a situation where, other than that first drive, that opening drive, literally we're having a conversation over and over and over again. I remember this nice open field tackle by Jalen Walker, albeit on a kick return. But my point being, it set up the Falcons to be able to have yet another one of those 3 and outs. And I just, time and time again, it wasn't just, hey, we're minimizing or we're slowing down this Bills defense, Bills offense. the Falcons were actually stopping this offense.
Yeah. And how about, man, I seem to remember, like, my memory gets a little bad sometimes, where people were talking junk about me wanting to keep a certain veteran around. A guy by the name of Dee
Alford. I knew.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you remember that, because some
faintly.
people were just, Jarvis, what are you talking about? Dee Alford, he's done. He's worthless. He shouldn't be on this team. They should have cut this man a long time ago. I seen him. Didn't he get a pick?
I never
thought. Not just a pick, Jarvis, but at an oh so critical time.
Yeah. Didn't he get a sack too?
Did he? Yeah. I think that was Dee Alford.
One more thing. Didn't he lead the team in tackles? He led the team in tackles too.
We got a Dee Alford victory lap in the year of our Lord.
Right, just take it.
What an incredible achievement.
Let him take his lap.
That's how you know it's time to believe.
Yes,
it's time
clearly,
to believe, sir.
Clearly.
Let's go.
Yeah, only other person who had the same number of sacks, of course, Mike Hughes. Both of them ended the game with 6 sacks, if you will. But yeah, I mean, Dee Alford had himself a night. And I think the reason that he was able to really do that, Free, is because you also saw complementary football. You saw complementary football where the front end helped out with the back end, made their jobs easier to have to deal with Younghoe. Yeah, exactly. And vice versa. As you just mentioned. So yeah, Free, I think we saw that complementary football that we liked. And let's talk about what you mentioned as well, like Caden Ellis, the pressure, the relentlessness, saying, hey, we are not going to back down. Okay, we made a few errors, we made a few mistakes, Free, but ultimately this is a game where we're just going to keep coming. And that's why we're having a conversation, not just about the Falcons getting 4 sacks, but then, you look down and you're seeing the tackles for loss. You see 3 of those. You see 6 QB hits in this game, and it just really makes you look. And I don't want to even kind of stay with the numbers, by the way, Free, but even more so, some of the things that were done with some of the players where we're like, okay, how's Jalen Walker going to show up? The numbers may not tell the complete story about what Jalen Walker or Arnold WKT or others were able to do, but I think that's a critical moment, because when we were talking about, I think it was the Thursday show, Free, when we were talking about X factors, it was who's that guy? What's that name that we're going to hear tonight? Whether it's statistically or whether it's just having impact, that's going to be that X factor. And I think we finally kind of saw some guys kind of show us how they could be that X factor.
Yeah, I think, I remember we talked about Divine Diablo being one of those guys. And I remember there was an early scramble that Josh Allen had where Divine Diablo was able to chase him down and prevent him from getting to the corner on a particular play and allow the rest of the defense to kind of rally to the football. You saw him get a couple of pass breakups in this game. You mentioned Jalen Walker. He got a couple of nice pressures in this game. He got the pressure on the Dee Alford interception that, I think was a major contributing factor to Dee Alford being able to jump that throw. Arnold WKT made a nice couple of plays. David Onyemata made a couple of nice plays. You can go down the line, and each player in this game made a key play. D'Angelo Moe getting the game-clinching interception off a Zach Harrison tip pass, and plays like that. So I think that's really what this defense is really about, and what you're talking about, T. Where with Caden Ellis and the belief and the relentlessness of just every single guy is going to contribute in some form or fashion. People, pass breakups, tight coverage, open field tackles, pressures, all turnovers, all that and more, special teams, and you got that. And so that's the type of thing that we just haven't seen, that sort of complete team defense from this team outside of, maybe a couple of select games in the first half of that 23 season with Ryan Nielsen when that defense got off to the first start. And for me, I bring that up just because we kind of saw that defense kind of fade once we got into October, November, and not be in again. It wasn't a bad defense, but it wasn't just the level it was. And so to me, going into this game, I was kind of like, okay, well, this is probably going to be the game where this defense starts to fade because they're going up against one of the best offenses in the league. And we'll see what they can do.
Believe, Free.
And then, they didn't fade. The Bills caught the fade, but the Falcons defense did not fade.
Right. But excellent point that you make, Free, because here is a game, and I think the point is even more profound on the offensive side of the ball. But yeah, this was the game, Free. This was the game, Jarvis, where you wanted to see the defense say, no, we're going to stand up and show you that we're real and actually that we can improve. So remember, we were talking about the fact that, hey, we're not looking necessarily for what we saw with the Vikings, like a 6-sack type of night. All we want is the consistent play that was at that level. And I think we started to see that. I want to go back to something real quick before we wrap up talking defense, because it doesn't go without notice that this run defense, especially in the first half, wasn't leaky. And as much maligned as their run D has been, I think you've got to just give one more kind of hand clap, kind of tip of the hat to this run defense, again, especially in the first half, but even in lockdown moments in the second half.
Yeah, when you think about the Buffalo Bills being 2 for 9 on third down, that's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. You're talking about being able to get off of the field.
Yeah.
That moment that I talked about with Caden Ellis saying, man, they can have those little 5 yards. We're good to go. That is what you want right there. And I think that, you know, the chess match that Jeff Ulbrich was playing when I was talking about going back and forth between the man and the zone, those are some of the things that you just love it. It's a beautiful thing to watch. I don't know about y'all, but I was just sitting here just in awe of watching this team. I've never been able to say that before. Never. Maybe 2016, the first half of that game. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I ain't gonna say it. But I was just in awe. I was in awe watching this team on defense. I was just waiting for the offense to, y'all go and score, go and do your thing, because I want to see what the defense gonna do. I want to see Josh Allen look flustered. You see the shots? I saw, because I had the TV broadcast in front of me as well, and I was just looking. The camera, every time the camera cut to Josh Allen on the sideline, all he was like this. He was like, he didn't know what was going on, and I'm just like, man. And, you know, even coming to this game, we talked about it on the Falcons Squad show, and I was just like, there's no way that Josh Allen and this offense play like they did against the New England Patriots. There's no way that happens. The Falcons forced them to play like that, like they did last week. And that, when we talk about that type of stuff, I'm telling y'all, I'm going to keep saying this for the next 42 and a half minutes. It's time to believe. It's time to believe. This offense, you know what I'm saying? They still figuring it out. You know, they almost got the 28 points. They almost. But this defense, though, man, you better strap up, because you got a game when you come to see this team in the black and red. Did I just sit out of a threat talking about this defense?
I think shots were fired, yes.
Yeah. I'm tripping. What's going on? Help me, please, somebody.
I got nothing.
Help me, Free, before I stop.
No.
Let's roll.
Let's roll with that. Let's just go to the next segment off of that one.
Yeah, no, right. It's like I think that was just kind of that drop the mic moment. So we're just going to let you have that, Jarvis. And you know what? The offense gave you some drop the mic moments as well, especially in the first half. So we will take that under further review. This episode of our Falcons Squad show is brought to you by Mizzen & Main. You know the saying, look good, feel good? Well, the problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp, but feel stiff, hot, and high maintenance. That's why there's Mizzen & Main. Mizzen & Main makes classic menswear with performance fabrics, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and they've perfected it ever since. So the shirts are stretchy, moisture wicking, which, hey, if you're in the South, that's important, wrinkle resistant and machine washable, no ironing, no dry cleaning. And you can go from the office to dinner or even out on the golf course and still feel comfortable all day. So right now, Mizzen & Main is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase at mizzenandmain.com with promo code LOCKEDONNFL20. That's Mizzen spelled Mizzen and Main, MAIN.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNFL20 for 20% off. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen & Main stores in select states. This episode of our Falcons Squad show is also brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Well, Supply House has next day delivery. Talk about a game changer. And the part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. So join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. So Free, the defense, it showed out. It showed out 11 of 19 plays for 0 yards. That's what the defense was able to do. But let's face it, in the first half especially, the offense for this Falcons team was really, really functioning on all cylinders as well. And, you know, this was a debate that we were having on our Monday show, our squad show, where we were saying, hey, when you think about the bye week, does it come at a perfect time where the Falcons could get rest for the banged up players? Or is it unfortunate because maybe they lose their rhythm and their momentum that they gained against the Commanders a couple of weeks ago? But Aaron, especially in that first half, I felt like this offense was humming, and I felt like it was humming both on the ground and in the air.
Yeah, I think this offense, you know, like I said earlier about the defense, like in the first half, I felt like, you know, the defense did everything it was supposed you wanted to see them do in order to keep the Bills offense in check. And I think the Falcons offense kind of did the same offensively, where, you know, I know doing the last Locked On Falcons I did earlier today before this game, I was questioning whether or not the Falcons would be able to dominate on the ground to the degree that I think a lot of people looking at, you know, some of the stats with the Bills run defense was going to do, because I saw some stats that showed that the Bills were actually poor at stopping certain types of runs, like, you know, inside runs, but were pretty good at stopping outside zone runs. And so I was wondering, you know, skeptical over whether or not the Falcons would be able to establish a run. Obviously, they ran for over 200 yards in this game. They had a lot of big explosive gains in the first half. And this run game was basically kicking butt. You saw the play action passing game get going in this game, was something we haven't consistently seen from this offense. You saw Michael Penix making good decisions. You saw the protection being there. You saw Drake London. It basically was, you know, it felt like the passing game in the first half was like every pass was to Drake London. Any pass that was not to Drake London, you know, other than maybe a couple passes to Bijan, like, it's like, the offense is Drake London. We dare you to stop Drake London. And the Bills couldn't stop Drake London. And so it was just like, this is, you know, okay. If you know, and it's funny because like the whole summer we talked about, oh, Drake London, and is he going to be the $35-ish million man or whatever? And should the Falcons have paid him? Then he gets off to the slow start in the first 3 games due to the injuries and other factors. And then he goes off against Washington. And it's like, okay, is Drake back to what we thought he was going to be as that top 5 wide receiver? Or, you know, what's going to happen coming out of the bye week? Coming up, you look like a top 5 wide receiver. Hey, pay that man his money, right? At this money in this game. So, like, it to me, like, this game was offensively in the first half. You know, we can haggle about, you know, maybe some clock management, some mismanagement at the end of the half that, you know, cost the Falcons some points. Although, you know, I think they have some excuses for, you know, why they didn't necessarily trust their kicking at that point in time, and so they were just like, yeah, we'll play around with it. And so, like, but I think up until that point, like, it was as good a first half offensively that you wanted to see from this team. And for folks like myself that were wondering, like, is this offense for real? Was what we saw going into the bye week the new standard that we're going to see coming out of the bye week, as you just broke down, T? You know, like, to me, they were like, yep, that's the standard. This is what we're going to be. You can count on Bijan. You can count on Drake London. And when we can get Kyle Pitts ramped up. And again, like, Kyle Pitts didn't have a great game, but they didn't really need Kyle Pitts to have a great game in this game, because that's how good Drake London and Bijan Robinson were. And obviously, at some point, hopefully they'll get Darnell Mooney going. we'll see if they get Ray McCloud going based off of today. It's like, I don't know if the Falcons plan on getting Ray McCloud going, but we'll see on that front. But like, if this is just going to be a three-headed monster in this offense and just Michael Penix is going to be able to pick apart and just be that point guard to distribute the ball to all three of these playmakers and Drake, Bijan, and Kyle Pitts, like, works for me. Looks pretty good for me. So I'll take it.
Yeah, look darn good, because you make a great point, Free. Like, which way you want to go? You want to pick your poison with Bijan Robinson, and I mean pick your poison in the air and on the ground, because the scrimmage yard game for him is just, it's lethal. But then, yeah, I mean, it didn't seem to matter where Drake London was on the field or where the defender was relative to Drake London. It was the give me this ball situation that actually worked out, even almost at the end of the first half, except for, just a game of inches, just outside of the line before hitting the pylon there. But ultimately, yeah, Jarvis, like, this was one of those games that you also on the offensive side of the ball said, hey, it's not a fluke. What we thought we would see right around this time, meaning the offense kind of catching up to the defense and being who they could be and kind of showing us what their identity is. And one of the things I liked about what I saw on the offensive side of the ball as well, and Free, I want you to chime in too, because we did give Jeff Ulbrich a little bit of time, but in terms of his scheming, Jarvis, what did you think about the way Zach Robinson called his game?
Oh, he did a good job, because I've come to the conclusion. I think I've tested my hypothesis, and it worked. When the Falcons are at home, man, they can cook. They don't got to worry about crowd noise or any of that thing. Like, they get to the line of scrimmage. They got about 14, 15 seconds. They were pretty consistent on that. There were some times, obviously, where they rushed the throw where Michael Penix almost threw that pick, and that could have changed the whole conversation of what we're talking about right now with Shaq Thompson. But I think I like what I saw, getting to the line of scrimmage, being able to get your pre-snap reads. Hey, let me send this guy in motion. Okay, are they following the guy? I know towards the end of the game, the entire defense was shifting when Bijan Robinson was doing that little jet motion going across the formation on the offense. Those are the type of things that you want to see as your OC. Oh, now they're responding to that. Okay, here's where I'm going now. Now I'm about to get in my bag. Now I got a response for that. Here it comes. And I think that as far as Drake London goes, that was a beautiful thing to watch. I know I'm being redundant a little bit, but that was beautiful. Like, because the one thing that I had a little bit of concern coming into this game is that we look back to that game that Raheem Morris wants to get rid of. It ain't going nowhere. Falcons fans ain't gonna forget. I ain't gonna forget. And Ejiro Evero is a zone guy. And Michael Penix could not figure that thing out. And guess what? Coming into this game, looking at the tape, you see that Sean McDermott likes to run that zone.
Yeah.
And he answered the bell. 9 answered the bell. 5 answered the bell. Those guys responded. Drake was eating that zone alive. As soon as he showed him 5, he's open. Get it to him. He's open, and that touchdown, oh my gosh, where he just reached out over the to break the plane, and then the DB tried to come over and knock the ball out. And he just snatched that bad boy right now. I already brought the plane. I'm good. You're not about having to review this thing. No, this is a touchdown, Jack. So yeah, those are some of the things that I really, you look at what Zach Robinson and all the criticism that he got in those first few games, or specifically in that Carolina game. I think those guys are starting to cleanse us of the funk that is remaining from that game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah. I think we're starting not to smell those things, especially when the Falcons are at home. That offense seems to operate in a very good manner.
And Free, you on Zach Robinson?
Yeah, I thought the Washington game was one of the best games he's called since he's been in Atlanta. And obviously I don't want to make that declaration until taking a deep dive into the film later this week, but it feels like, at least at face value, that he followed up with another strong game. I know people are going to criticize the play calling getting too conservative in the second half, which is, why the offense only scored a few points towards the end of the game. But like for me, like I don't have any beef with the Falcons getting conservative. Like this is the Buffalo Bills, man. Like you get the ball out of Josh Allen's hands, run thinking football. Okay, yes. You had success running the football. Jake Matthews is out of the game. Okay, yes. So that's a huge issue that we're going to talk about. In the future on future squad scores. What's the status of Jake Matthews? Mm-hmm. You do not want to get in a drop back passing game with Michael Jarrell and Elijah Wilkinson going up against Greg Rousseau and Joey Bosa. So Zach Robinson was running the football on first down.
Saw a little bit of that, more of that in the second half as well.
You're seeing high percentage passes, screens. Like that's why they were throwing all them screens, because it's like, look, hey, we need this ball to be caught so they don't stop the clock. The clock is our ally right now, so that we can get out of here with the win. So I feel like, in the first half, Zach Robinson called an excellent game, as good a game as we've seen him call, and he's going to get heat because people are just going to look at the scoreboard and look at the offense. They're going to look at, hey, you scored 21 points in the first half. Why didn't you score 21 points in the second half? But not really understand the context of what's going on in the game. And it's like, look, man, we are hanging on right now at this point in time. We need to get out of here with the win. Keep Josh Allen in the game. We don't have our offensive line intact. We just need to run the football, salt this clock away, keep this thing rolling, and let's just get out of here with the win. And so to me, I don't have any problem with any of the play calls. And I can sit here and nitpick and be like, oh, they should have ran to the left on that play instead of running, that's type of stuff. But like, that's just nitpicking type of stuff. So I thought, at face value, we'll see what, it holds up under the film when we watch the opportunity too. But like, I thought this was a well-called game from Zach Robinson.
Yeah. And I would have to agree, because I think my X factor on Thursday squad show was just keep Josh Allen off the field. And I'm not one who likes a second half of conservative play, but I also talked about ball possession and ball control, and I think that was the game plan, and it worked. We're here talking about a win, are we not? So mission accomplished, and I think at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. But also, one quick thing that I noticed that I really liked was seeing the explosives on the ground, seeing the explosives in the passing game, because I love to see, as time goes on, Zach Robinson opening up this offense and really showing us, A, what Michael Penix Jr. can do, but B, also just showing us all of the weapons. But like you guys said, we're watching Twitter to see if there's any update. As of right now, there's no update on Jake Matthews, but that is something that we definitely have to continue to keep our eyes on throughout the course of the week, just to kind of see what the status is on Jake Matthews. But hey, we always talk about all phases of the game, so we're going to keep it honest. We got one more space to talk about, and that's special teams. Kind of up and down night, but we'll discuss. This episode of our Falcons Squad show is brought to you by Mazda, moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. So think about this. I mean, we can talk about a play, players, fan, coaches. I mean, the moments that define this game just go all over the place, whether it's on the offensive side of the ball, just seeing Bijan just go all the way, pretty much the length of the field for a touchdown, or just seeing, like we talked about, Jalen Walker on the defensive side of the ball, just making impact plays, even in addition to what's in the stats, and of course the fans at the Benz doing their part. So when you follow what moves you, like the Falcons did tonight to get a win over the Buffalo Bills 24-14, then the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. And there were absolutely so many highlights in this game tonight. Falcons, of course, move forward with a record of 3-2, and Mazda moves forward because they move and you can be moved. All right, this was one of those, Jarvis, where it's up, down, But I think one of the things that was the biggest, maybe the biggest head scratcher, came before the game even started, and that was finding out that Ray McCloud was a healthy head scratcher for me.
Yeah, that was very interesting. I think that we're going to continue to, as you mentioned, look at the Twitter wire, to kind of see what was the reasoning behind that. But yeah. I think that, just kind of thinking from how this offense has played out, how it's coming around. I mean, like Free eloquently laid it out earlier. You got Kyle Pitts, you got Drake London, you got Bijan Robinson in both aspects of the game. You know, what do you really need with Ray? Is the attitude issue? But you know, you think from a kick return standpoint, you know,
Yeah.
I feel like there's some value there.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough for him to go out and dress tonight. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. But you know, just overall, I think I want to start positive. You know, we talk about special teams. Got to start positive.
And when it's a winning game night, we gotta keep it positive.
Felipe Franks, oh my goodness, this man is an absolute monster. That dude out there making tackles, getting quarterback sneaks for first downs, drawing the team outside to basically close out the game essentially. You know, in the fourth quarter, but yeah, just a do-it-all guy, just being willing to do whatever, whether it be special teams, offense, whatever y'all need me to do. I'm here, and he is all effort, 1,000% effort. And I just, you know, Marquise Williams, I know why he vouched for that man. I know why he made this roster. A lot of people are like, man, why he made this roster? That's why. Man, it's valuable. When you got that man screaming down the field and coming down and diving at somebody's leg and chopping them down and he making a tackle, those are the type of things that you want from your players. And I think Felipe Franks actually did that tonight. And, you know, that's one of the things moving forward. You want to get more guys like that. Yeah. And I think that guys like that set the tone, and guys like want to follow stuff like that. Like, okay, all right, I see you, Felipe, I'm going to have to go and try to get up in the mix as well.
Yeah. And Free, I felt like that was one of the more positives that we saw in special teams tonight. I know special teams, of the three phases, the most up and down clearly for this Falcons team. But what were some of the positives you saw on special teams tonight?
Yeah, I thought, you know, field position, you know, that was going to be a critical element to try to keep the Bills at bay. And, you know, there was nothing, you know, too crazy, I thought, when it came to the opposing Bills returns and whatnot, in part to what Jarvis was saying. T, you mentioned a good tackle from Jalen Walker. You had several others from Felipe Franks and Kadero Hodge and several other guys on the coverage unit. So I thought the coverage units played really well. You know, I don't want to, we'll save the kicking till later. But, you know, on the Ray McCloud element, you know, I think, as Jarvis said, like, I think you can understand why the Falcons are maybe not as intrigued with what Ray's bringing to the table offensively, right? Just because, like, it did feel like, and you saw this early in the game where the Falcons kind of came out running a lot of 2 tight end sets. They wanted to run the football, and it's like, look, we'll have Drake London do all the slot stuff. We'll have Kyle Pitts do all the slot stuff. We don't really need Ray McCloud out there. We're going to have Casey Washington and David Sills and Kadero Hodge, all the guys that have bigger size and can bring a little bit more oomph in the run game with some of that perimeter blocking. You know, Ray's a very good blocker for a player his size, but we have seen time and time again that, you know, being 5'9", 190 pounds does have a lower ceiling when it comes to trying to block some of these things. So to me, that part made sense why the Falcons maybe not as interested. But as Jarvis said, like, the kick return stuff, because I think Ray has been their most consistent kick returner, in part due to him being available so far this year. And so it was, that to me was questionable, where, you know, I guess we'll find out more information, but maybe they saw something from Devin Tompkins, the practice squad guy that they brought in there. They were like, hey, he's really practiced really well for the last couple of weeks. We want to give this guy a shot in the kick return game. And that kind of means that Ray's no longer in the mix. So that'll be something to keep an eye on moving forward. When it comes to that element. So that to me was the big question with the Ray deactivation as a healthy scratch, which is like, are you going to lose something in the kick return game? They didn't necessarily in this game. So when we look at the special teams, and I guess now is the time we can talk about Romo and, you know, the block field goal, and was that kick going to go in, even if that kick hadn't been blocked, that, you know. And then we're sitting there at the end of the game, and it's like, oh, 33-yard field goal. I don't feel very confident about this one going in. And it went in, and it's like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I think everybody in the stadium, everybody in the state of Georgia,
It's sigh of relief, right?
it was like, ooh, but you know, it went in. So as you said to you, it went in. It matters. The Falcons won, so we'll take what we can get. But it's just we talked about it on the Falcons Squad a couple of weeks ago when it was like, is kicking going to be an issue for the entire season? And it's still an issue. So, you know, we'll see at some point if we get that trust in John Parker Roma. It's like, oh, 46-yard field goal. It's fine. He's going to make it. We're not there yet, but like, you know, hopefully we'll just take baby steps until we get to that point at this stage. So that's if that's what it's going to be, that's what it's going to be. But I think overall special teams really brought it. And as we spend a lot of time talking about Marquise Williams in this unit, as Jarvis said, like I think the coverage units, Franks, Mike Ford has been worth every penny, which is something that just pains me to say because I was talking so much trash about Mike Ford over the summer. You know, and so, but he's been lights out on special teams as well as so many others.
Well, it's interesting, Free, that you mentioned it because I wouldn't say we try to stay away from anything like overly negative when it comes to a postcast after a win, right? But let's keep it real. Jarvis, I cringed, but I understood it was like, I don't agree, but I understand when Raheem Morris, and we know he goes for it on fourth down, don't get me wrong. But 4th and 3 was a little problematic for me because I was like, at this point, I just really don't want to give Josh Allen a short field if it comes to it. But then I thought about it. I'm like, Raheem's looking over here at Parker Romo going, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go for it on 4th and 3.
Yeah.
That was part one of it, right?
Yeah, I think it has to be part of it, right? Because of when you think about what you've experienced this year, because you only can go off this year, especially when you just brought John Parker Romo in. Like if it was Younghoe Koo, like okay, maybe he can come around and figure it out. He can piece pretty money in this from this particular area, but he ain't here no anymore. John Parker Romo is new. All we know is 5 for 5. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. 0 for 2, 2 for 2 easy bunnies, and 1 for 2 tonight. Like, so yeah, I think that until you find some consistency, like especially when you're talking about range, like okay, or if is he gonna be money from 47 to 52, or is he gonna be 50 in? Anything inside the 50 yards, he's good to go. I think until that is established, we're going to see these moments. And I had no issue whatsoever. Even after the timeout, I was just like, yep, the offense still on the field. And I'm cool with that. Totally cool with that because here's the thing. The way that offense was cooking, I want to keep them out on the field too.
Sure.
You talking about going up 28-7 in the first half? Yes, please sign me up. Yeah. I want that. I want to see all of that, right? 28-7. I think that this game would have been totally different in the second half. So for me, I just look at it from a standpoint of Raheem Morris he's being consistent and being aggressive, right, and not being dumb aggressive. You know, like going for it on 4th down, and you're on your own 35-yard line. Like, that's crazy, Dan Campbell. You know. You feel the momentum. Your offense is playing well. You don't necessarily have all the confidence in the world in your kicker, and my quarterback is killing. My wide receiver is just whatever they throwing at him, they just couldn't guard him. You know, so yeah, I had no issue with that whatsoever, and I definitely believe that part of it was John Parker Romo. I don't know you like that just yet. You know, I don't know if I'm inviting you to the cookout just yet.
Right. Yeah. Probably down to the final play of the first half, Free, where it's like, oh, wait a minute. And granted, Drake London was very, very open. So when he's that open, you do go for him. But in the back of their mind, they were probably thinking, yeah, I'd rather take my chances on trying to get into the end zone on this final play. Of course, probably hoping that there was at least a second left to put some points on the board. But you got to even think on that play. They might have been looking over their shoulder like, yeah, we don't have to.
Yeah, it was that catch that Drake London had that should have been a 40-yard touchdown to close out the half. It's like no. Oh, yes. And then like I'm sitting there going like, oh man, Drake should have got out of bounds. And I'm like, wait a second. If Drake had gotten out of bounds, we would be settling for a field goal from John Parker. No, Drake, you did what you needed to do, right?
Like you know, Consistency, man. Consistency is key, man.
Right?
You know what I'm saying?
From the highest level of the organization, Raheem Morris, down to the not the lowest, but you know what I'm saying, the players telling you the consistent theme of like, we don't trust you, right?
Yep.
You know, like young Metro, we don't trust you, and that means you need to something's going to happen to you. I'm not going to say it on this postcast, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, so it's one of those things where like, I get it. I understand completely. Drake, you saw the end zone. I'm going for it because we need to get 7 because no one in this stadium outside of John Parker Romo and probably his grandma believes that he's going to make this field goal. So let's get 7.
And I think I felt the
Grandma
same way. Like,
No, I'm just saying, no one believes in you more than your grandmother. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
like,
no doubt.
she's your biggest
Facts.
cheerleader. So
Yes.
John Parker's Romo's grandmother
no
is
matter
like, baby, I know you were gonna make that field goal if you got that shot. So yeah, that's how she is.
Exactly. I'm sure that's exactly how John Parker Romo grandmother.
Probably. And she probably was the person in the room, in the stadium that thought, my baby probably could have made that. But unfortunately, she was alone in her thought process, essentially. So yeah, it was disappointing because I was like, dang it. It was like we thought that they had a touchdown and then they didn't get a touchdown. But man, I like the moxie of the call too, by the way. I thought that it was a great effort, albeit coming up with no points, just a few inches off. But hey, you know how we do it here on the Squad Show. Whenever we get a win, here are game balls. This episode of our Falcons Squad Show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is in full swing. In fact, we're about a third of the way through, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So think about this. You have so many ways to play. You can build parlays, try player props, and even follow the live lines during games. And it makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. So whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Don't forget, you can play so many ways. You can build parlays, try player props, and even follow the live lines during games. So again, visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, guys, it's time for the fun stuff because when there is a win like today, Aaron, a 24-14 Atlanta Falcons win over the Buffalo Bills, it's time to give out some game balls. So let's start on offense. Who gets your game ball on offense?
I'm going to give it for Drake London. There's so many options here that I could give it to on offense.
I can just so left field, Free. I mean, where'd you get that from?
So
Great.
But like, yeah, I'm gonna give it for Drake London. He was so dominant in the first half, and like, a little quiet in the second half. But I just think that's just circumstances. The Bills making adjustments, all that stuff, and the Falcons being like, let's just play keep away at this point in time. So to me, this was the type of game where you're like, okay, can you just run an offense through Drake London passing game? The answer was yes. They were able to do that. So, for anybody who was sitting there, I know plenty of Falcon fans that were like, I don't know about Drake. Should we pay him? Is he worth it? All that stuff. For whenever guys come up on contracts, it's always weird how people treat Arthur Blank's money like it's their money. Like it's like they have to pay Drake London's salary. They got to write those checks. It's like it ain't your money, man. Like.
Man. Spend that money, man. That's what it's there for.
Like I'm not losing no sleep over how much money Drake London is making. If he can get $40 million, then hey, man, congratulations to your agent and you, Drake London, and your girlfriend. Congratulations on that. But like, yeah. So all that to say, Drake London gets my offensive game ball.
Yeah, no, I love that call because hey, when you think about game changers across time, like Hall of Famers, adjacent Hall of Famers. And your mind goes to Julio Jones and Roddy White and some of the things that they were able to do to change a game. You got a guy burgeoning like that in Drake London. So you got to be excited about what you see. And no, let's not talk about his bag because, he's earning his bag. Yes, a little bit quieter second half because, of course, Zach Robinson decided, hey, we need to grind away a little bit,
Squeeze
take
the
some of
air
this
out of
time
the
away,
ball.
keep this ball out of Josh Allen's hand.
Yes.
But you can't deny the 10 receptions, 158 yards, and a touchdown from Drake London tonight. What about you, Jarvis? Your offensive game ball goes to
Mr. Blue Magic himself.
oh God,
The man broke and did not get caught.
At all.
81 yards. Oh my God. We've
Tiptoe
been
down
waiting
the
on it. That is a career long. That is a career long. That is his longest run in his Falcons career. More than likely, I feel like it's going to be another one coming real soon because the way he's running the football this year, it's special. So, yeah, I have to give my game ball to Bijan Robinson. And then shout out to him not having his starting offensive line, right? One of the best run blockers is down for the year in Caleb McGarry. Jake Matthews is out for the entire second half. And when you think about having backup offensive linemen and still being able to close out this game because you know that the Bills were going to load up on the run. They were consistent. They consistently had 8 men in the box in the second half. Consistently. And the Falcons were able to be effective, specifically on that last drive when it was about 7.5 minutes on the game clock. I was like, okay, let's see if we can get some of this 4-minute offense going and see what happens. And that's exactly what they're able to do. So yeah, when you have those guys out, your guys out, and you're still able to find the ways to get things going, and then throw Tyler Algier in the mix as well. But yeah, 7 has to get that game ball for me.
Yeah. He had an absolute beast of a night. 19 carries, 170 yards, a touchdown. You mentioned the long of 81. And what you always like is a Bijan Robinson night that shows you how incredible he is, even in catches out of the backfield. 6 receptions, 68 yards, and a long of 23. I mean, he really can do it all. On the defensive side of the ball, Free, who you got?
Ooh, I mean, as we talked about, so many individual players stepped up. I'm trying to think, who do I want to give the game ball? I know Jarvis is going to, go for his man D at this probably in all likelihood. And so I think I'm trying to think, I think I'm going to go with AJ Terrell. Welcome back, AJ Terrell. He had, a couple penalties. I don't care about that.
Did Keon Coleman play tonight?
Keon Coleman, I was going to say.
That's what I was going to say.
Keon Coleman, because I think you put him in witness protection. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm like,
he got a felony charge tonight, didn't he?
So, we talked about this with AJ Terrell in the week 1 game against Mike Evans. He had the best game he's had against Mike Evans that we've probably seen him play in his career. And Mike Evans for a long time had been his kryptonite, big physical wide receivers. And I wanted to see how AJ Terrell would deal with Keon Coleman. Obviously, Keon Coleman is not on the Mike Evans level, but he is a large human being. And those are the types of receivers that have given AJ Terrell problems. And I wanted to see how he would fare against Keon Coleman. And as we saw, as you guys, Keon, where you at, my guy? You back at Michigan State for homecoming? What's going on, Keon? I don't know where you at, but I think this.
He had the moon in Tallahassee. Free.
He was OG Michigan State. He started out before the or whatever. He's got to go back to his roots to get his groove back. But I think this secondary is just different when AJ Terrell's out there on the field. And this defense is different when AJ Terrell is out there on the field. And, I think, again, there's so many guys that you could pick that had outstanding games in this one, but, welcome back, AJ Terrell.
Welcome back indeed. And I don't think the numbers tell it all because 2 tackles, 2 passes defense don't even begin to tell the story of what AJ Terrell was able to do. He was also one of our kind of extended X factors because we talked about how much differently Jeff Ulbrich will be able to scheme this defense if AJ Terrell was back. So a perfect time for him to get back and have a real impact on this defense. What about for you, Jarvis? Who gets your game ball on defense?
So no, Aaron. I'm not going to give it Dee Alford. I'm not going to give it Dee Alford. Dee Alford was my X factor tonight. Yes.
Okay.
There you go. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I have to give game ball to David Onyemata. Like the way he played, the way he was able to push the pocket, put Josh Allen on the ground, play in the backfield on run in the run against the run, and get those TFLs and just be the guy that we saw when he first signed with the Atlanta Falcons. Man, do y'all remember that? That man was a force.
Yes.
We weren't missing Grady Jarrett for a little second, for a little while. I was like, oh God, who's number 90? So yeah, but yeah, I think that the way he played tonight is, man, I know he's 32 years old, getting ready to turn 33, but man, that's what I like to see. Like that's the leader that I want to see right there. That's how you lead right there. You lead by the way you play. And the way he was playing, like everybody was just following along right behind him. And I think that, for those reasons, I have to give him my game ball, because guys at that age don't normally have games like this on the big stage,
Sure.
But for him to play the way he did tonight, yeah, gotta recognize it. And plus, he won my own number, you know what I'm saying? So of course I gotta show him some love.
That's fair. That's fair. And yeah, David Onyemata, 4 tackles, a sack, a tackle for loss, a QB hit. Nice night from 90 indeed. And we can find a way, I'm sure, to at least give somebody a game ball on special teams, right, Free?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Should I just give it to Felipe Franks? Because I think he led the team with 2 special teams tackles, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it to Felipe Franks. No, I'll give it to Jalen Walker. He had a nice tackle, and it's nice to see, rookies contributing on special teams.
Yeah.
I know that's a big issue or whatever, but it's like I think Jalen Walker, he can do it all. He can drop off in the coverage, he can blitz, he can rush, and also he makes impact plays on special teams as well. So I'll give him some love. That was a great stop that you mentioned earlier, T, that he had that really stood out to me.
Indeed. What about you, Jarvis?
Oh, I gotta go with Felipe Franks. Like, he just stood out. I mean, I hate to be redundant, but he's the guy that set the tone. Talk about David Onyemata setting the tone up front in that interior defense. I think he's the guy, Felipe Franks, that is the guy that set the tone on special teams from a coverage standpoint. The guy's just all out. Every time I see him, he is all out effort, and that you can't buy that type of stuff. That's why he's on this roster. He earned every dollar that he's making right now for this team tonight, because that's what you want to see. You love to see that.
Yeah, and let me give out my game balls for offense and defense. I'm actually going to give the game ball out to the same. I'm going to give it out to the line, because I felt like the offensive line for the Falcons, especially like you said, with Caleb McGarry gone for the year, with Jake Matthews out for the second half, they really still held their own. And I felt like on the defensive side of the ball, D-line up front, Falcons showed out. They showed up and they showed out. And I think from special teams, I'll just give my game ball to the guy who almost got them all together. If we don't consider the kicker, Marquise Williams, I think his special team strategy tonight for the most part worked out. And so maybe this was a bit of a turning point for them, just in terms of, again, taking John Parker Romo out of this part of the conversation. Maybe it's a turning point for that unit as the other 2 units of this team keep trending up. And there's one more thing I wanted to ask you guys before we go, because we talked about this on the Thursday show as well. Kind of when you look at games like this, where a Buffalo Bills team comes in, they're 4-1, and they're reeling from a very odd loss last week to the New England Patriots. And that's most of the time where you see a team come back, and when they bounce back big, but they didn't. This Falcons team stood firm, and we said, hey, if Raheem Morris can help guide this team to a win, this is a big time game. So in addition to kind of him being on the hot seat, especially before the Commanders game, Free, but him being a little bit further away from that hot seat. But how does this kind of game, I don't want to say define Raheem, but at least I think this is one of those signature wins.
Oh, it absolutely is. I talked about this earlier today on Locked On Falcons, where going into this game, I think a lot of people were like, if they don't win this game, then Raheem is just not the guy. And I was like, I think that's too strong expecting the Falcons where they are at this stage, beating the Bills, and it's like, oh, the Bills are here, top 5 team, and the Falcons are kind of in the middle of the pack, and it's like the Falcons losing this game is not, to me, like, oh, a sign of Raheem Morris's bad coaching, but the Falcons winning this game, I do think the opposite is true, where this is a sign of good coaching on the part of Raheem Morris. And for me, like, this team is, the arrow's pointing up, I think, for this team. And now this raises the level of expectation, and we'll see if the Falcons can continue this momentum. It's not Kirktober, but it's, the month of October. So we'll see if that's the magic mojo that this team gets in that boost, and Raheem Morris is bringing that. So I think this is a huge win for Raheem Morris. Obviously, they can't go back and lose 2 straight or whatever. We'll be right back in the same situation that we have been in. But this to me is, as you said, a signature win. This is one of the biggest wins this team has had in, basically certainly the last 7 years that they've had. And so this to me is a huge moment for Raheem Morris, and hopefully it's the beginning of something special for this team the rest of the season.
Yeah. And for me, I think that this is one of those games where everything was lining up for the Bills to bounce back. And the Falcons came out and punched Jordan in his mouth. They punched LeBron in his mouth and knocked him out. They knocked him out. And when you have a team coming in, on the big stage in front of everyone, I know the Commanders and Bears game was on, but nobody don't really care about them. But shout out to the Commanders and Bears Squad show. I know y'all doing y'all thing, y'all holding it down and all that stuff. But this was the big deal. This was the big game, because everybody was expecting 17 to come back and have a good game and continue his MVP. They even had the MVP chance early on in that first drive. MVP. That's all you heard in that first drive. And after that first drive, they were quiet. Just quiet. Just so quiet. So, yeah, Raheem Morris deserves credit for this game. Now, there are Raheem Morris detractors that aren't going to care. They're just going to wait till the Falcons lose again. And then, Raheem Morris deserves to be fired. Those people, they can stay where they at. Stay where you at. Don't come over here, because I like to believe what I see. Looking at the film coming into this game, the offensive line for the Bills was leaky.
Yeah.
It was leaky. That run defense was soft. And the Falcons were able to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
They took advantage of that. And that was one of the things that we did not see happen that often last year. Freeman and I talked about it on Locked on Falcons every Thursday last year. We were like, man, oh, yeah, the Falcons, their team they're playing this week, they got this guy's down, this guy's down. Or they don't play the well against the run. And then next thing you know, they shut the Falcons down for the entire game, and they're not able to take advantage of it. But that's not the case. This year, this defense, the way they've been playing, the way Jeff Ulbrich has been coaching, it's time to start believing. It's time to start believing in this defense. And for those of you who are still on the fence about Raheem Morris, just continue to pay attention. Just pay attention. Pay attention. Believe what you see, not what you heard.
Yeah. Believe what you see in a Falcons 24-14 win over the Buffalo Bills to improve to 3-2 on the season. Thanks to our everydayers for making the Falcons Squad show your first listen of the day. Be sure to stop by Locked on Falcons with your host, Aaron Freeman, for more post-game coverage shortly. We'll see you next time.